Yo, my bad, y'all. We was just laughing about something. What's good with y'all, man? Yo, this is Reef'Lik.
And this is Leaky
And
Link.
this is Reef'Lik. And man, horror gang. What's good with y'all, man? Got another video.
Today we're going to be reacting to Mr.Ballen.
Yo, shout out to Mr.Ballen, man. You know you to go over here, man. Yo, we love you so much, Mr.Ballen. For today, we're going to be reacting to two of his recent videos that he recently just made. Because we want to do a double video thing on for today because me and Leaky Lee got some important stuff to do. So we just gonna put two videos into one, and we're gonna be making one long one. So we're just letting y'all know just for a heads up. So please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We love y'all so much over here. Anime Hard Game, we're getting bigger every week. We're Supreme Kais over here. We're losers over here. You already know we're family for life over here. So please subscribe and let's begin.
In order to appreciate today's story, I actually have to give something away right now, and that is the main character survives. The reason I have to tell you that is because during this story, there is a really intense event that happens, and I use really specific descriptions for how something looked, how something felt, how something smelled, and if you didn't know, I was pulling that from the survivor who lived to tell the tale.
Wow,
you might
man.
think I was just making it up, but I'm not. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if
I kind of feel like, just saying it, like, kind of like, room,
say yes, and then
kind of spoiled it. Because that was the question. Because that's the thing. I wanted to see if he made it or not,
So you don't miss any of our weekly uploads.
I agree with you, man. But anyway, let's see what...
We're going to still react to it, but it's just, it kind of spoiled it a little. Shout out to Mr.Ballen, though. The Torn Gets.
On July 19th, 2013, 49-year-old Matt Dyer climbed on board a tiny 19-seat Twin Otter airplane that was parked on the tarmac of the Montreal International Airport in Canada. Matt was about to take off on the first of two flights that would take him and 7 other adventurous people deep into one of the most remote and wild regions in North America. For Matt, this trip was going to be the most amazing journey of his life. He had seen the ad for this 2-week-long expedition about a year earlier when he was looking through a magazine put out by an environmental organization called the Sierra Club. Now, even though Matt was a lawyer, he didn't make much money. He lived in this tiny town in central Maine where he made a living by offering either free or very low-cost legal assistance for some of the state's poorest residents. But Matt was an avid outdoorsman,
That's good.
and when he saw the opportunity to explore one of Canada's newest national parks that was so far north it was practically in the Arctic Circle, he decided the hefty $6,000 price tag was well worth it. 2.5 hours later, after flying over 900 miles due north away from the airport in Montreal, the Twin Otter airplane that Matt and the others were riding on touched down on a narrow gravel landing strip situated between this huge forest on a mountainside and a river on the other side. After climbing off the plane with all of their equipment, Matt and the 7 others hustled their way over to this stretch of flimsy plywood buildings that lined the runway. These buildings and this entire area they were in was not a part of this new national park they were going to. This was like their staging area to prepare and get ready before catching another flight that would bring them into the park. And so Matt and the 7 other people he was with, which included the 2 trip leaders from the Sierra Club, they would stay at this temporary base camp for the next couple of days, going over their hiking routes and talking about emergency procedures and protocols. And then after those 2 days were up, the group felt like they were ready. And so the group packed up all their things and they boarded the tiny float plane out on the water that would take them to their final destination, this new Canadian national park, better known as the Torngat Mountains. 45 minutes later, the pilot of the float plane began to descend through the clouds to make their landing on a little water inlet. And as the pilot did that, Matt and the 7 others were able to look out the window and actually see the Torngat Mountains for the first time. Now, all of them had seen dozens and dozens.
I feel like that's like a place like, you know, like some people wouldn't. I wouldn't go there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Yeah,
somewhere I wouldn't like want to go.
it looks
Like,
nice, but it could be deadly at the same
yeah,
time,
like,
though.
like I don't want to go there. Like, what's my purpose of going out
For the
there?
first
Yeah.
time in person was still shocking. The area looks like an alien planet. The wilderness in and around the Torngots is not the same kind of wilderness we think of when we think about going hiking in the forest or going camping or something. No. The wilderness in the Torngots is primordial. It's like you're looking out at a place from the very beginning of time. Like dinosaurs should be walking around this area. As far as Matt could see, in any direction were these huge, jagged mountains that had been carved out of the earth by glaciers hundreds of thousands of years ago. And those same glaciers had created hundreds of waterways between the mountains called fjords that almost looked like blue-veined fingers. And even from high up in the plain, Matt could look down, and the water of these fjords were so clear that he could see these speckled backs of brown trout swimming beneath the surface. But while
Wow.
this landscape was undoubtedly spectacularly beautiful and pristine and totally incredible, it was equal parts unwelcoming to people. There are no roads in the Torngots. There's no campsites. There's no
Man.
facilities. There's no internet. There's no cell phone. And the weather is unbelievably harsh. It's freezing cold and wet most of the time.
Oh my
and then
God.
Even when it's a little bit warm and a little bit nice there, the weather can change in an instant and become freezing.
Oh
cold
no, I don't want to go
all
there.
over.
Never
And so,
mind. No.
as
Yeah, on
such,
second
the
thought,
handful
man.
I
of
said never
visitors
mind.
that go
I don't
into
want to
this
go there.
area every
Period.
year
Like for
are
real.
expected to be 100% self-reliant, because this really is one of the most dangerous wild regions in the world.
I would not want to go there. Like if it's that dangerous, dude, you can't even use your phone.
Man.
I'm good.
Matt, as he looked out his window and surveyed this landscape, he wasn't second-guessing his decision to go into this hostile environment. No. I mean, the reason he was willing to fork over all that money to go on this trip is because he really wanted to experience extreme wilderness firsthand. And so finally, the pilot of the float plane came into land on this little water inlet, and then the pilot ferried the craft over to this beach, and then Matt and the 7 others piled off onto land with all of their things, and then as the pilot turned around and left, the 2 Sierra Club trip leaders, a 61-year-old man named Rich Gross and a 60-year-old woman named Marta Chase, told the group to pick up their things and follow them. And so Rich and Marta led the hikers about 500 feet away from where they had just been dropped off, up to this slightly elevated, mostly flat area that kind of overlooked the fjord and had this incredible view of all the mountains around them. Now, unlike the temporary base camp they had been at for the past couple of days, this camp was nowhere near any forests. They were basically on a wide open plain that kind of went right up into these mountains. So it's very wide open where they're staying. And so after Rich and Marta instructed the group where to set up their tents, Matt and the others got to doing that, and then after they were all set up, Rich and Marta put a small electric fence around the perimeter of their tents to keep any nosy animals out, and then the group headed up a little bit higher on this
That's
mountain
another
near them
thing.
I
to take their
can't.
first group photo.
That's another thing. I'm worried about what type of animal is out there, though.
And it's like, y'all, the place is like dangerous and stuff like that. It's like you sleeping in a tent is not it.
Man, the harsh conditions out there.
It's not it. I can't.
And in this
We
photo,
can't.
they all look so happy and so excited for what's to come. And over the next couple of days, their trip would go exactly to plan. During the daytime hours, they would hike all of their pre-planned hiking routes all over the mountains and down near the water.
This is for like, you know,
And at
people
night,
that
they would
really
eat
loves
food,
hiking
drink
and
fresh
like
water from the fjord,
and
swap
nature.
stories
Yeah,
from back
like
home. But their perfect
extreme
trip
nature.
was about to become a nightmare.
Oh God.
What happened, man?
I've been married to my wife, Amanda, for nearly 12 years, and I just love her. In the early evening hours of Tuesday, July 23rd, so 2 days after the group arrived in the Torngat Mountains, Matt and the others returned from one of their hikes. Now, the day had been cold and rainy, but the group was in good spirits. This was their last day at this particular camping spot. The next morning, they were going to pack up and head farther inland to their next camping spot. After Matt and the others had put their gear back inside of their tents, they came back out to see that Rich and Marta, the two trip leads, had organized a special feast for the group to celebrate the successful
that's
beginning
good.
of their trip. And so the group all sat around eating salami and crackers and drinking rum mixed with lemonade as they talked excitedly about the next couple of days and what they could expect. At some point during the festivities, Matt was tired, and so he broke away from the group. He climbed back inside of his tent, got inside of his sleeping bag, and before long, he was fast asleep. A few hours later, around 3:30 in the morning, Matt suddenly woke up. He had no idea what had woken him up, and so for a second, he just lay there listening to the outside world and just kind of staring straight up. Now, the moon was out that night, so there was some illumination, and as he looked straight up at the underside of his tent, he sees this huge figure move across the side of his tent and then stop right on top of him. And then before Matt's brain could process what was happening, this huge figure began pressing down on the fabric of Matt's tent. And so he's seeing his tent collapsing in on him. Matt's not doing anything. He's not saying anything. He's just watching it.
Yo, that is scary right there, man.
It rips open, and these two arms reach into the tent, and they grab at Matt. And Matt threw his hands up in defense and screamed out for help. And as he did that, he suddenly felt this vice-like grip on the top of his head. And then before long, he was being pulled out of the hole in his tent out into the night.
What the heck?
Dragged along on the ground, having no idea what's going on. He can't move. All he can hear is this crunching sound, which he would later find out was the sound of his skull and jaw breaking. And he started to smell
my
fish
goodness!
smell. And then he felt what felt like saliva coming over his face. And then Matt began kind of trying to look around because he couldn't really move his head. And he noticed all he could see was white fur. And it was then that Matt realized
It was
in the jaws of one of the world's most powerful and deadliest predators. Standing 10 feet tall on its hind legs and weighing as much as 1,700 pounds, the North American polar bear sits right on top of the Arctic food chain.
Oh
and now
my
this apex
God.
predator was dragging Matt by the skull down to the beach where Matt knew he
Bruh,
even if Matt was
can you imagine you just woke up and that thing coming in your tent and just...
Dude, that thing got his powerful jaws around your skull and crushing it, man. And now he's dragging you out of there.
Y'all don't understand. Some of y'all will understand, but some of y'all don't. Y'all don't understand how big a bear is. A polar bear is. That thing is three feet taller than Shaq. Bruh, I'm to Shaq's chest. Shaq is like I'm literally to his chest. 3 feet taller than that? Bruh, oh no, son. You can't fight that.
No.
You can't fight that.
alive when the eating began. When the bear first ripped
It just ripped over his tent, just took him in the night, and just was going crazy.
That scream, and it actually woke up the entire camp. And one of the first people to emerge from their tents to see what was going on was one of the trip leaders, Marta. And so she jumps out of her tent, and just 3 feet away from her, she sees this huge polar bear on its hind legs diving into the tent to get after Matt. And so Marta instinctively yells out to Rich to get his flare gun, and she dove back into her tent to retrieve her own flare gun. But by the time she and Rich had both emerged, gun in hand, this polar bear had already dragged Matt 200 feet away from the camp.
Oh
And
my
by this
God.
time, others in the group had also emerged from their
Yo,
tents.
he took him
And after
quick,
realizing
man.
What was going on? They just stood there, absolutely paralyzed with shock, staring at this bear dragging one of their companions down to the beach to be killed. Then, after Rich fired his flare gun generally in the direction of the bear, it kind of snapped the group out of their paralysis, and then moments later, they were all screaming and banging pots and pans to try to terrify the bear into releasing Matt from its jaws. Matt couldn't hear the sounds of his companions calling out to try to save him, nor did Matt feel any pain. He was in shock. The only thing going through Matt's head as he was being dragged along the ground to the beach was, I'm going to die. I'm either going to die on the way to the beach, or when I get there, then when the bear starts eating me, I'm going to die. And when he thought about this, it
Oh
was really
my
kind of
God.
attachment. Like, he wasn't sad or mad. It was just kind of a fact. This was going to happen. But as Matt was kind of making peace with his reality, Rich fired that flare gun shot, and that ball of chemical fire exploded basically right in front of the polar bear's face. And the polar bear, who was startled by the flare, instinctively whipped its head to the side, up, and then down again, and it didn't let go of Matt. And so Matt was whipped like a rag doll.
Oh my God.
And when Matt hit the ground, he heard the sound of his neck break.
Oh!
But as Matt was laying there, the bear released him from its jaws, and then behind Matt, the bear turned around and began walking away. And so Matt could hear the sound of its big paws moving away from him, and suddenly Matt's thinking, oh my God, I might survive this. And so he tried to lay as still
Oh,
as
I
he
feel
possibly
so
could, so as not to
bad.
attract any attention, and he began repeating in his head over and over and over again, please bear, go away, please bear, go away. But as if out of a horror movie, as Matt is laying there repeating this phrase, he hears the sound of this bear stopping, turning around, and start moving back towards him.
Oh my God.
It's going to bite my head, and that's the end. But luckily, Rich, by this point, one of the trip leads, had run down closer to the beach, reloaded his flare gun, and right as this bear was going to bite Matt again, Rich had fired that flare, and once again, the chemical fire had kind of exploded right near the bear, causing it to get startled, and turned around, it ran off, and this time the bear did not return. It would turn out Rich and Marta, the two trip leaders from the Sierra Club, had chosen a location for this campsite that was so heavily trafficked by polar bears, it was referred to as a polar bear highway. When all of the hikers, which included
Oh no. Oh
had
no.
given their safety.
Okay, I know y'all planning trips and stuff, but y'all gotta really look into it before y'all go.
You mean to tell me y'all been camping somewhere where polar bears would, be at?
Like, it's just heavy polar bears there.
So that's basically like a hunting ground, though, if you really think about it.
So y'all camped out in a hunting ground for polar bears? And it's mad at them out there? And y'all ain't knew that?
That's crazy, man.
Nah, son. Nah. Wait a minute. Messed up a little bit. Gotta turn the volume back up. All right, here we go. Nah, bruh.
Base camp near the
Nah,
highway.
bruh.
Well, part of the brief was
Nah.
whenever you make camp in the Torngots, you want to be at least a quarter mile away from water. Go way inland because the polar bears hunt and fish and walk around right along the edge of these fjords. But despite all 7 members of this Sierra Club expedition being experienced wilderness backpackers, none of them really appreciated just how dangerous it was to be camping or even hiking around in known polar bear territory. And so this is why they ultimately ignored the safety brief and set up their first camp just a couple hundred feet away from the water's
Is
edge.
you serious?
Prior to the attack on Matt, when the group literally saw polar bears wandering around near their camp, and even at one point had to fire their flare guns at the polar bears to get them to leave, the group still decided it was best to stay at this particular
No!
No, man.
If I see some bears, I'm not staying there.
tents would protect them from these polar bears. But obviously, that had not been the case. The bear that attacked Matt had been totally unaffected by their
Man,
fence.
that bear bypassed
Matt would
that
survive
joint,
this
man.
attack, but really only because one of the members of the expedition happened to be a medical doctor, and so they were able to stabilize Matt until help arrived. Matt's injuries were extensive. They included a broken skull, a jaw. He had slash marks and puncture wounds all over his head and his neck, and all of those wounds got horribly infected. And also his voice was permanently changed as well because the bear also slashed his vocal cords.
Oh!
Parks Canada, which is the agency that oversees all
Oh
of
my
Canada's
God,
national
man.
parks, including Torngots,
Oh my
has
God.
mandated that any organization going into Torngots National Park has to have a polar bear protection plan in place. As for Matt, he does not make a big deal about his near-death experience. In fact, he kind of makes light of it and sometimes even makes jokes about it. As for the polar bear that attacked him, Matt holds no ill will. If anything, the attack has made him more interested and appreciative of the apex predator. In August of 2014, so 11 months after Matt's brush with death, he returned to the Torngots and even visited the actual site of the attack, perhaps to get closure. Except this time, he was in the company of an armed polar bear expert.
Okay. I wouldn't even
So
went
that's
back.
going to do it. If you got something out of today's episode, and
I know you went back trying to get like
next time-
comfort, trying to get comfort and stuff, but I feel like I wouldn't have went back just because it's too much trauma.
Yeah.
Like I almost
know.
like died here, and like, but that's him. I mean, if you want to do that, that's all you. You know, I'm just happy that he lived. I'm happy that he lived.
Yeah.
Cause come on, bro, people don't deserve that. He did not deserve that.
The
Man,
like button asks you to get them cereal, say yes, and then go to the store and buy the huge single biscuit shredded wheat cereal. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't
go
miss
subscribe to
any of
Mr.
our
Ballen, y'all.
videos. We have a podcast called the Mr.Ballen Podcast that puts out brand new podcast exclusive stories on Monday mornings, and on Thursday mornings we put out
All right, so that's one video, y'all. We're gonna get to the next one.
On to next story two. Story 2.
Yeah, story 2. So we're gonna go right to it. Let's just get right into it. This is they didn't know they were being watched. So
If you haven't heard about what happened at the Gay Pride
Let's
Parade
get it.
in the Netherlands, it's likely because you haven't seen the infamous security footage that's currently going viral on Reddit and other places on the internet. Today, I'm going to show you portions of that security footage and tell you the story about what's really happening so you have context and can really appreciate what you're seeing. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, please swap out all of the Pop-Tarts in the like button's pantry for the unfrosted kind. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads.
Subscribe to Mr. Ballen.
Today's story.
all right. Pride Amsterdam.
On September 27th, 2018, in a little city in the Netherlands, a security camera captured 6 men walking calmly toward this brick bungalow inside one of the country's holiday parks. A holiday park is a place that offers cheap accommodations to tourists. They typically have things like campsites, RV parking, cheap bungalows for rent, and they also often offer things like swimming and golfing and bowling, so it's kind of like an all-in-one for families on vacation. But on this September day, these 6 men caught on camera were neither family nor on vacation.
What?
Instead, as they walked, it was very clear from their body language that the only thing they were interested in was getting inside of their holiday bungalow. Once they did reach the front door of this bungalow, the apparent leader of the group, who had dark brown hair and a full beard, he pulled out a key, unlocked the door, he opened it up, and then he made sure the rest of the men took off their shoes before walking inside. And then once all the men were inside the door, the leader shut the door and locked it behind them, and then barefoot they walked through the hallway into this corner living room in the back of the bungalow. And in this room, there was this L-shaped couch that was centered on a coffee table and a couple of chairs scattered throughout the rest of the room. And so the 6 men kind of took up seats in these different places. And then after they were all sitting down, 2 of the men who had been seen walking into the bungalow carrying backpacks and duffel bags, they pulled those bags out and set them on the coffee table. And as soon as these 2 men did that, the other 4 men who had been chatting amongst themselves went completely silent and turned and just faced the bags on the table. It was very clear that whatever was in the bags was very significant. So significant, in fact, that the group had pulled most of the curtains across all of the windows inside.
All right, this is that's weird.
Sure no one outside could look in and potentially see the contents.
Yeah, they don't want nobody to see.
And once the 2 men unzipped the duffel bags and backpack and began putting the contents of the bags onto the table, it became incredibly clear why the men were so on edge. I don't fight for myself.
Yo,
I fight.
you don't know what people's intentions are.
Yeah.
Inside of these bags were guns, and in the Netherlands, no private citizen is allowed to possess them. Over the next hour, the 2 men who had actually carried the guns into the bungalow they began going over some instruction with the other 4 men of how to use these slick black pistols and AK-47 rifles. They taught them how to load the guns and reload and how to aim, and they did a number of dry firing exercises, which is basically pulling the trigger on any real gun when the gun is not loaded. And so these 4 students paid careful attention to their 2 instructors, and at some point they became more confident, and you could just see the excitement was building in the room. At one point, one of the students grabbed 2 of the AK-47 rifles and held one in each arm and pretended to fire them simultaneously, like you would see in the Rambo movies. But when one of the 2 instructors reached back into one of these bags and pulled out a new item, a vest, and laid it on the coffee table, immediately the mood in the room shifted again. Now the students seemed more nervous than excited. One of the 4 students eventually walked forward and somewhat reluctantly extended his arm to allow the instructor to slip the vest onto him. And then once the vest was put on the student, you can see in the camera footage there are pockets all over this vest with little wires poking out of them. This vest
Yo,
was a
what are they
suicide
planning?
vest, and the pockets contained explosives. As one of the instructors showed the student in the vest which cord to pull
This is
in
not
order
good,
to
man.
detonate himself, you can hear in the background someone saying, "When the police come, you can take them with you." A little over 2 hours later, these 6 men were done, and they began packing up their arsenal of new weapons back into the bags.
They're robbing a
and then
bank
they
or
set out
something.
to leave.
Yeah, they're gearing
But
up
when
for
they
something.
left, it was the students who had the bags of weapons, not the 2 instructors. Once the 6 men had left the bungalow and were back outside again, they put their shoes back on, they locked the bungalow behind them, and then the 2 instructors were seen on camera walking away from the bungalow to a separate car. They drove off, and then the 4 men that now had the weapons, they walked to a nearby white cargo van, which contained one other man who had not been inside of the bungalow with them, but he was very much a part of this group. He was their driver. And so as the 4 men with guns approached the white van, the driver saw them, he climbed out, he ran around to the back. And
The cops
opened up
must
the
be
back
watching
doors
them.
that led into the
'Cause,
windowless
come
back
on now.
cargo area of the van.
That is
The 4 men with
weird.
Guns, they climbed inside. The driver shut the van, climbed back into the driver's seat, and then before long, the driver was leaving the parking lot and heading north towards the city of Amsterdam, which is the capital of the Netherlands. Every year, Amsterdam plays host to one of the largest gay pride parades and events in the world. The location is significant to the LGBTQ community because
Okay.
it was here in 2001 that the first gay marriage bill was signed into law, making the Netherlands the first country in the world to legalize gay marriage. So,
Okay.
for 1 week a year, hundreds of thousands of people pour out onto the streets and line the
Oh,
canals of
man, that looked
Amsterdam,
lit.
all drawn together to affirm gay rights and to celebrate their sexual expression, preference, and identity. And the men in the white windowless
I
van
pray to God that they're not about to go there and do that.
training to kill or maim as many parade goers as possible. They were hopeful that their terrorist attack would rival or even eclipse the attack from 2015 in Paris in a nightclub that killed or injured more than 500 people and sent
Oh,
shockwaves through
God.
30 minutes later,
Wait a minute.
4 men
Wait,
in the
wait,
back
wait,
of
wait.
this windowless
You mean to
van
tell me,
felt the van
like, they're
slow
trying
down,
to, what do you
pull
call
off
it,
the
do
main
is, like,
road, and not
to try to
actually
one-up
really
that
stop, but
for
just
clout?
begin to slow roll, which was odd because they had no reason
Wow.
to slow down, and they were at least 30 minutes away from their destination. And so instinctively, the men reach down and make sure their guns.
And it's
are
like
safely
people just
stowed inside the
celebrating. Let
bags
them
out of sight in
celebrate.
case somebody opens
Y'all
the
really
door.
got
Like, if
nothing
you
better
don't
to
like
do.
the LGBTQ, why is you coming to the event?
Continued to go painfully slowly for really no reason that was clear.
You literally
The
got
men in the
nothing
back of the
better
van
to
were
do,
really
though.
starting to worry that something was wrong. Now remember, they have no windows. They can't look outside. They don't know what's going on. However, there was a small crack in the partition that separated the back of the van from the front of the van where the driver was. And so the men in the back of the van began craning their necks and looking through this little crack to try to see if they could understand what was in front of the van and, why the driver had stopped. And when these men looked through that little crack and they saw what was out there, they immediately began to panic. They began reaching down and fumbling for their bags, trying to open them up to get their guns, and then by the time they
What
got their
happened?
guns into their hands, all the doors on the van fly open.
What the-
And the men in the back just begin firing their guns at
What the-
open doors. But when they pull their triggers, nothing happens.
Wait,
Because
what?
their guns were fake. They had been sold to them by the people who were flinging open their doors.
Yeah.
And they knew
That's a setup.
they knew their suicide suicide vest.
It was a setup. That's what y'all get.
Inside of
That's what y'all get.
That's what you get. Y'all dumbass. That's what you get.
The dog.
terrorists are screaming.
Look how I'm playing with
The dogs, as the dogs are shooting.
Look, even Mr. Ballen's laughing.
That's what y'all get.
Even Mr. Ballen laughing at this.
Crying, or they were crouched down.
You dummies.
Instructors who had brought the duffel bags of guns into the bungalow with the other men, they were not other fellow terrorists. They were undercover police officers.
I knew it. Because why is they getting recorded?
Terrorism team who were able to infiltrate this terrorist cell. These undercover
Thank
cops
God, man. Thank God.
fake guns.
Yo, that is funny as.
Were the ones who set up this
It was a setup.
which allowed them to place cameras and listen
Yeah.
to devices all over the place.
That was the
Plus, they
most
also
funny.
involved the white van because
It was a setup the entire time. Oh my God.
I am
One of the
dead.
cases that you saw on camera, plus 2 others that were not seen on camera but were totally involved, were all sentenced on October 8th, 2020 to anywhere from 10 to 17 years in prison. Meanwhile,
Y'all dummies.
it went off without a hitch.
That's what they get, man. That's what they get.
And you bought some fake guns.
Replace all of the Pop-Tarts in the like button's pantry.
I bet you they felt really stupid at that point.
And you got 10 or 17 years on top of it.
Ask yourself this: was it worth it?
Was it really worth it, bro? Dummies.
And on Thursday mornings, we put out the remastered audio of our best YouTube videos. The podcast is called the Mr.Ballen Podcast, and
Yo.
on Amazon Music.
Yeah.
It's to our charity, the Mr.Ballen Foundation, and it provides support to victims of violent crime.
Yo, that was a
The
big.
Mr. Ballen Foundation Honor Them Society will receive.
No wonder that joint was short, man. Yo, and it actually had a happy ending too. Yo,
So y'all try to plan something and then it's just.
and then y'all got by the police.
Yo, it's a good thing, y'all, on our channel and our platform, all our people that subscribe to us, it's a good thing all of us are squares. We are regular people that want to do regular things with our life. You know what I'm saying? Just be a square. Be a regular nerd, a fanatic, like a horror anime fanatic, and be happy with who you are. You don't have to be no criminal. Please don't be no criminal. Stay in school, get your degrees, get a good job, and life will be better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't have to do none of this stuff what these people doing. And y'all literally got 17 years slapped on y'all lives for something y'all was about to do. And y'all even went through with it.
Yeah.
So was it really worth it? So, bruh, like,
Man.
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yo, but yeah, y'all, that's the video. Shout out to Mr. Ballen, man.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, this video was funny.
That was funny. Even Mr. Ballen was laughing.
Man.
Yo, shout out to Mr. Ballen, man. Yo, we see y'all next time, man, on Reef'Lik, man. Yo, join the family, man. Like, comment, and subscribe to our family. Man, we love y'all so much. We love entertaining y'all and making sure y'all have a nice day. So we see y'all next time in the next reaction.
Peace.
Deuces.